Today I'm reviewing the Cedar Ice Chest build. First things first, safety. I use the planer to get the 2x4s smoothed out as much as possible. And then of course I have to put a gas mask because we know that dust can be in there for about 30 minutes after you cut it, so safety first. I have my glasses and also my earbuds, which do have the noise cancellation, which help me preserve my hearing. Now I usually start with the legs. I went with 32 inches and I got them as smooth as possible and use this tight bond glue that's weatherproof and outdoor to last. Also pre-drill the holes. I always do that so we don't get no cracks. And then I use decking screws for the build. I usually build the legs first because that's the first part that I want to build everything off, as you'll see in this video. So now that the 4 legs are done, I do use the sander. I do have this wind sander, which I really need to upgrade to DeWalt, but for now it'll do to smooth out some of the stuff that maybe the planer didn't get. Now the holes that I use for pre-drilling, I filled them up with a little glue, and I'm using these plastic dowels. I don't like these plastic dowels because the color discoloration, it just doesn't blend in, but that's all I had. And as you can tell, it did an okay job. Now I picked this strawberry red color and I started spraying. I did about 3 coats. Now this one does have primer and it also has the paint. Now I put 3 coats on it and it came out really good. For the ice chest, this is the one I'm using, a Coleman Classic. This is the bigger one. I got the bigger one because it does have the draining plug on there, which is really good. So after I get the legs all situated, my next step is to start building the frame around the ice chest. Again, same thing, having used the planer makes it easier to work with the 2x4s and pre-drilling and sticking everything together. Now I was on my knees here in the backyard. I really need to wear jeans when I'm doing this. Now I use my my router here. I don't know why I did this, but I used it just for that. And then after a while I was wondering why I used the router there. There's no need for that. Now attaching the legs, it'll start coming together. As you can tell, there's it's a high gloss strawberry color on the legs, so it comes out really nice. And then I'm gonna start using again pre-drilling from the inside to attach the legs. I use 2 screws, decking screws, and that's what it looks for so far. Now the next part is to build the frame that goes underneath it. Again, I have to measure to make sure that it's even, to make sure the legs are correct size, and this is what it looks like so far. I also painted around the area that's going to be exposed, as you can tell later. So the next thing I do is I get the lid going on, and I'm here by my poolside, and I start doing the same thing. This time I'm not on my knees, I was standing up. And I get the lid going. So the lid is the same way. It needs to be flush. And again, I go back to the planer now to try to get the side that's going to be facing out as smooth as possible. Now this planer came in really handy and really clutch, but of course we have to clean after it. I use a 5-gallon shop bag. Now here I'm measuring above the lid, so once the lid is on, I'm measuring for the trimming around there. So I'm going to take the measurement, go get my picket, cut it down to size, and safety first of course, and then I'm going to go ahead and rip it into 2 inches. Now be careful with the table saw, of course. You want to get a kickback, so you want to be on the side. I am decently comfortable with it, and of course now I'm starting to do the pieces together. I'm using glue, and then I'm putting a little bit of glue, and then I'm using brad nails with my nail gun to put them together. But right now I'm just making sure that everything lines up properly, so there's minimal gaps around it. And I like to put the trimming with the lid on. I've done it before without it, but then sometimes it doesn't want to close right. So I put the lid on and I use some brad nails, and then I attach it to the side. And as you can tell, this looks a lot better. The edges are covered well. You can tell for the most part it's even. And now these hinges here, I painted them white. They were black. So again, this is going to be a football team, and stick around so you can tell which team I'm making it for. But I decided to do a red, a white, and a gold trim style color. And the problem with these hinges is they don't take the color going back and forth. It was peeling, so it's really hard. So eventually I moved back to black. The handle is white, so I pre-drilled the holes. There you go. My lid now, it's open, and now it works. Now I'm going to switch over. I'm going to take a break from the ice chest and I'm going to go to decorations. So I've done this before where I've taken the silhouette, and I used to watch I'm not sure what his channel is, but he did a lot of fishing lures, and this is the way he did it. He grabbed the outline like this, cut it up, and then he would then put glue. So again, if I remember his channel, I'll give him a shout out, but use glue like this. Now I have done many letterings and many stuff, like I've done the state of California before like this, but I've done it in smaller, not as thick wood. I'm using 3/4 of an inch here specifically because I don't want, when you're using a scroll saw, there's pressure there with your hands, and if you have thin wood, you can get a breakage. It will break. So again, 3/4 of an inch from now on, no matter what I do, especially letters, as you'll tell later, you have to do them with thicker, but as you learn. The scroll saw, if you guys never used one before, I'm sure many of the viewers have, it's really easier if you just go in one pass, because if you're trying to slow down and pause back, it becomes really choppy, but I'm just trying to use it with as many as just one take. Again, this scroll saw is from Win. I've had it for a couple years and I really do like it. I really do enjoy making these. You just gotta be careful with your fingers. See how close my fingers are? I know that some people use like a pencil with the eraser side to try to push it when it's close like that. I'm just very, very careful when I'm doing this. As you can tell, it came out pretty well, and now I'm gonna go look, and my dog Loki, hey Loki, that is my dog. He's poolside. He's just chilling, wondering what I'm doing. But this is where it would go. Okay, now switching back to the ice chest. Now I'm going to start getting ready to start covering the top of the lid with cedar pickets. So again, I'm using the smooth side that I use, and I'm going to go fit test it without nailing it. I'm just going to go make sure everything's right where it's supposed to be. Now, I used to do this where I would start on the left and work my way to the right. But what ended up happening is once I finished all the way to the right, it would be a really small piece that I needed covered, and it looks so uneven. So what I do, as you can tell, I start in the middle and then work my way out, so that if I have two edges that are thin, if I had one side that requires me to rip, as you can tell, they will be even. Again, we're trying to look symmetrical here, and this is to try and errors, and this is what I did. So as you can tell now, these two slivers that go on the side, it looks a lot smoother, it looks a lot better. And I use my brad nails. I believe I'm using 1 3/4 inch brad nails here, and then I'm going to start doing the rest. So get more pickets, go back to the saw, and start working from the middle and working outside. And as you can tell, this process, I measure from the top and I measure from the bottom, so I'll just use one nail and then I'll measure again to make sure. And again, the reason why I do this is like a broken record. Once everything's even, by the time I hit the edges, it should be just about the same, so that it looks perfectly even. Now we'll be using a trim here with a different color, so it will cover a lot of the nails that I'm using. So I'm trying to get the nails at the top and get them at the bottom. But again, with the trimming that you'll see later on in the video, it will cover all that. So I done that side, I done the top. So then I start working my way around, and again, gripping, and trying to get them as close as possible that both sides look symmetrical. It just looks a lot better. And I'm going to be honest, now that I use this, I've done one without a planer, but having a planer does help a lot. It does really help because it brings out the cedar. It brings out the better wood. I don't know what it is, but it just looks a lot better, and it makes it a lot easier for me sanding, because we know we hate sanding. So this one worked out a little bit better. I didn't have any small edges on the side. 3 pickets did it, but as you can tell now I'm working with something different. Now in the past, I've done these where there is no drain plug. So what I have to do is drill a hole on the ice chest and then put some PVC pipe and then put another attachment. But the problem with that is that I'm not a plumber, so you would have leaks with melted ice. So instead, I decided to do something different with this ice chest. I decided to make a door that you can just reach in and do your own self-draining. I've never done this before, so I got a couple small hinges. I did some measurements, and once I felt comfortable with it, I went ahead and nailed all around it to secure it. I was really happy because I do color I spray paint the hinges, so as you can tell. But I am very happy with this. Definitely can fit your hand in here. It's definitely something unique that I've never seen anybody do on an ice chest. I've seen people do those little faucets that you add, but so far this is where we're at. I'm feeling really comfortable. I like the way the red trims out. And now I'm going back to the state of California. I've done one of these before with the outline of it. So what I'm going to use for this, I'm going to sand it, make sure I get a little texture. Now I wound up using the sander, and it kind of gave it rough edges, but it kind of looks like contour. It kind of looks like the foothills, as you can tell. If you can look closely, you can tell that I didn't do an even job of sanding it, but I actually like the way it looks. It gives it a little bit of texture. And of course, if you haven't still figured out, you will figure out what team I'm doing this for. So now I'm back at the saw, and I'm cutting down 2x4s to 4 inches each, and I am going to be using them to cover the extra area that I need at the bottom of this build so that I can attach the caster wheels. Now in the past I've used smaller caster wheels. I've used 2-inch, I believe that's what I use. But the problem with smaller wheels is that if you're trying to go over a rug or you're trying to just push it through, smaller wheels just doesn't do it. But I did sand these little leg extensions, if you will, and I went ahead and put a couple coats of paint, same one, strawberry red, which I really like with the high gloss, just to blend in. I did pre-drill because when I'm trying to drill such a small piece of wood, you still don't want it to crack. You don't want it to have any cracks, but at the end of the day, this is where it was going. It was going at the very bottom, so we're gonna have extra territory to be able to put the plates. I'll show you right now the caster wheels that I ordered. I was really happy with them. But again, if you've ever built anything, if you never used a right screw, I put my hand on the other side. I probably shouldn't have done that, but I did do that at the end to try to make sure that I did not go through the wood, because again, that's the last thing you want. So there you have it. So here are the wheels. The wheels, they were like $40. I got them off of Amazon, and they're really heavy duty. They're 5-inch, and they have a locking mechanism. They do swivel. They are high grade. I really do recommend them. And I've tried different ones, but again, having these big wheels just makes it that much easier to push around when you want to move it from point A to point B. Again, now that I have enough territory adding those little blocks, I pre-drill, and it did include the hardware, which was good. They give you 2 sets of screws, but I used the type decking screws or wood screws that they attach, and there you have it. You have all 4 wheels, and it's starting to come together. So this is the current thing that we have. I have the wheels in place now. Everything looking good, but now I got to sand it. And like I said, I use the planer specifically because we all know we hate sanding. It's just so boring. But I am gonna go over it to as much as possible to try to get rid of some of the edges. Now I will, in the corners, just take the corner off. So you'll see me just do a little bit in the corners to make sure, because in the past you have kids around this, you don't want to have no sharp edges, so I will take care of that, and I'll go through the whole thing, avoiding obviously where the paint is at. And then now I am going to do the trim. So again, the trim is going to be 2 inches, so I got to rip the board, and then I got to cut it to size, and then I am going to dry test it first to make sure that it works and it's looking good. And now I'm going to sand it down again, sand, and I'm using, on this one, it is high gloss also. Yes, it's a high gloss white, and for whatever reason, white, it just seems like the wood didn't take it as easy as the other colors. So I did more than one passing. I did multiple passings. And again, the trim, it just makes it look a lot neater, looks a lot nicer. And then once I have 3 coats on it, I'm ready to use my brad nailer and then put it on there, and this thing is starting to come together. I really like the way that the color looks, especially if you stick around to the end of this video. You're going to see that once you add some polyurethane and you clear coat on it, it really makes that cedar pop out. And then the contrast between the red, the white, and then stick around to see what I'm going to put on this. Is going to look really nice. It just makes it look a lot more custom, and so I love the way that little door again looks in the bottom. I really like the way it's coming out, and you'll see what I'm going to put. Not only am I going to color the hinges, I'm also going to add a knob to it. So there you have it with the white trimming. I'm really enjoying this build. I'm really liking it. And now we're going to use some polyurethane. It's water-based poly, and I am going to put one coat, not too much, but enough to get everything soaked in. And of course, in the past, they've told you that if you do a coat, you got to wait at least a day, and then you got to sand it a little bit. But yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to take everything. I did take the hinges out. I took all the hardware out because in the past I've used it and I left it on, and I don't like the way it is. It just makes it harder. Now my dog Loki doesn't want me to play, so between this build I did take a break. Look at that jump. He's so happy. And I throw his favorite toy and he goes and gets it. But hey, back to the build. Again, lots of poly. I'm using it. I usually buy them like, I think it's a quart of poly, and it lasts me quite a bit. 220 grip sandpaper, nothing too crazy. We just wanted to make sure that anything that's sticking out, anything that it's going to be to make it look smoother once you put the rest of the coats. I do a quick sanding, and I know guys, we hate to sand, but it's part of it, and I've learned patience as I continue my woodworking travels and experiences. I've learned that just taking my time. A close-up of the brand that I use, and just having a good brush also comes in handy, and then putting more coats on it and just taking my time, enjoying the process, listening to music, being outside and a beautiful day, and just knowing that it's all going to come together. Now poly does turn white initially, and it's kind of discouraging as sometimes you're like, well, this doesn't look like but it does dry. It does dry clear. If you guys use water-based poly, it does wipe. Eventually it will dry. So you can tell right there when I'm brushing that it's really white, and I'm like, whoa, what is this color? But eventually it will dry. Now I'm brushing all around the inside also to make sure I get it all done, and once I'm done, I put about 3 coats, and I'm very happy with the way it looked. Now this part right here I really do enjoy, and this is where you have to have patience. But again, I've used this method before. Well, I print out the words, and then I go ahead and cut the X's out. I put it on a 3/4 inch piece of plywood, and then I'm getting ready to start cutting. As you can tell, the font that I use is kind of like a cursive. What I'll do first is I'll just take the part out, the big part of the wood. I'll just cut it to a more manageable. I probably should have done it in the table saw, but since I was there, and again, just a smooth hand with this. It depends on, a lot of it might depend on your blade. If you have a good blade, it goes pretty smooth. Once your blade starts dulling a little bit, it makes it a little bit harder to go. But again, if you've ever used a scroll saw, you know that a lot of times just going smooth and knowing how to make turns, practice how to make turns, it makes it a lot smoother. And I really did enjoy how these letters came out, separating them, but usually sometimes the glue sticks to the paper a lot, and it's hard to bring out. But as you can tell, there's the full word. I don't know if you can make it out in this video so far, but it says faithful, faithful. And if you know anything about NFL teams, you probably guess what team I'm making this ice chest for. But I won't tell you. Keep looking. If you enjoyed this video, I appreciate it. I do reviews and I do builds like this, and again, I'm trying to build a channel where I make things like this that I experience and share it with you guys. So here we are. I debated whether to paint these gold, white, or red because I was thinking of the colorway. I'm kind of glad I decided to go with this one. So here's what I'm going to attach, guys. Now that the letters have dried, it says faithful, and you guessed it, San Francisco 49ers. Now I got this plaque from Jerry Rice that I'm going to attach. I like the way the California outline came out with the sticker. And the first thing that I'm going to attach is the Jerry Rice. Again, this one just fit perfectly. I did not do this on purpose. It just worked out that it came out perfectly. I decided to go in the middle. Same thing with this one. I kind of just eyeballed it to make sure that it looked even from all sides, centered. And then I used this, I pre-drilled the holes and I attached the bottle opener. Switching to the letters, I use a pencil and I mark where they go. And I'm using this liquid nails, outdoor adhesive, because I'm also going to use nails. And I kind of just get everything centered. I do the same thing with the state of California. I had plenty of this liquid nail stuff that's outdoor and that's weatherproof. And again, I am going to use a small drill and I'm going to pre-drill a small little hole on there where I'm going to use a finished nail and attach them to that. Now I find that in the past, if I only use the nails, or if I only use the glue, after time it tends to move. But using finishing nails and using liquid nails or some sort of outdoor adhesive is just going to ensure that it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And I made some for people, and they told me that they like the way the letters continue to hold after so many uses and wear and tear. And I've had one for a couple years and the letters are still going true. So again, using a thicker, and there you have it, guys. This is what it looks like. This is the finished product. After all this, I like the way the cedar pops. I like the little white knob that I put. I like the way the color contrast is with the white. I like the design. I like the way. I'm just very happy with this. Look at the front, guys. Look at the front. Faithful. It just pops. The trimming pops. The state of California looks like it has like hills on there. The ice chest fits perfectly, the molding around it. That Jerry Rice plaque looks dope. And I really enjoyed making this build with the big old wheels that you can lug this around. So there you have it. Nailed it. Iced it. Niners bang bang. Definitely would do it again. Cheers.